On this episode of This is Game Boy, Slater! Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of This is Game Boy. We've been gone for a while, due to a lot of things, a lot of busy things, a lot of not so fun things for me, those being, things breaking all around me, and having to deal with that. Always a fun time, but we're back on track now. We skipped one release date, I guess, for an episode, because we've all been quite busy. We'll definitely be talking about that, but like always, I'm Moelle, and with me I have Baltic Gaming.
Hello.
So first of all, what have you been up to for the past, I guess, month, since our last recording? Might even be a little bit longer than that.
Whew, that is a loaded question, let me tell you what. So game-wise, Assassin's Creed 1 for the Xbox 360, obviously. Bloodlines for the PSP. Worst Assassin's Creed game I've ever played. And I'm currently going through Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, which is a glitchy mess right now. It's pretty disastrous. I played through Layers of Fear 2, which was not as good as Layers of Fear 1 in my opinion, but still a decent game. Firewood, which is a indie horror game. Serena, which is a point-and-click indie horror game, free on Steam, by the way. Settled, which is a indie horror game, $1 on Steam, by the way. What Remains of Edith Finch. It was like a second playthrough of that. Splinter Cell Blacklist, because I was upset at Ubisoft's E3 conference by not announcing a new Splinter Cell. I finally played through Celeste, first time ever. Fantastic game. Frustrating at points, but fantastic game. Gato Roboto, after watching Mo play it on stream a while back, I got it on the Steam sale for I think like $5 or whatever it was. And that's a super fun game. If you're looking for a Metroid style game that has a cat, that's what you're looking for right there.
Yeah.
Dissolving, which is a indie horror game, free on Steam. It is a very weird game, and I don't know if I liked the game or not. It's super bizarre. Like, it has secret click points in it that open up paste bins to other stories.
Okay.
So like you get pulled out of the game way too often. Like it's really hard to like keep track of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, but it's just really hard to understand what's happening. Venture Kid with Venture Kid speedrunning and routing. Venture Kid is basically, it pays some pretty close homage to Mega Man. It's 8 or 9 stages, and then you go into a space fortress, which is basically the Wily stages. There is a bad and a good ending. If you collect all these hidden treasures throughout the game, you access the good ending, which is basically like the Solgren fight in Bashi. It's an endurance round, that's for sure. It's a very fun game though. It's pretty short. I think blind it took me like an hour and a half or 2 hours blind. Speedrun is about a half hour long. Roger Rabbit Game Boy speedruns. I've been doing some of those. I took second place. I finally got the video uploaded to that. I've been learning Octopath Traveler speedruns. So I've actually gotten back into speedrunning a little bit. I've been learning the Haunted single story speedrun for Octopath. I'm probably going to learn Tressa next. And then other than that, I've literally spent most of my time at GDQ or being prepared for GDQ. So SGDQ is super cool. Saw a lot of people, taught a lot of Game Boy games, played a lot of games. A whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I definitely maybe wanted to go to SGDQ, but like I said before, it's literally unaffordable for me. Like, I'm not gonna
Oh,
spend
it's super expensive.
like
Yeah.
2,500 euros just to go there. That's definitely out of the question. Yeah, I've been just playing a lot of non-Game Boy games, really. Mostly because, again, like we said before, we're working on that database. I had 1 week of vacation like 2 weeks ago, and I spent 15 hours of that vacation just scanning in all my Game Boy cards. I'm up to 371 games right now. So I scanned all of those in to have pictures of the cards, the front of them. So yeah, I spent 15 hours in Photoshop just cutting those out and placing them in a folder with the correct name so that Lex can use it later on for what's the word? Putting the things in the database. Can't come up with a word right now. Whatever. So what I still have to do, of course, is just take pictures of all the boards of those games. But I still haven't found like a good way to tackle that. But that's gonna take me a lot of time as well. Luckily, in that case, I don't have to cut anything out anymore. I just have to put the pictures in the folder and give them a correct name. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I played some Game Boy games. I did Lawnmower Man, which is like an acid trip. That game, it's very weird. It's very hard as well, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If you take one hit, you basically lose a life unless you power it up by getting enough CDs or whatever they are. If you have a full bar of those, you can take one extra hit at least. And then it's like a 3D shooter game. There's a race. It's kind of a race, but like you don't have to be first or anything. You just have to destroy the other cars. But yeah, it's like a platformer. It's like a shoot 'em up. It's like a driving game. It has very interesting ideas, but it's definitely not a great game at all. But it took me like an hour to get through it, so not that bad. I also played Toy Story for Game Boy.
I'm sorry.
That is, yeah, it's just a very, very laggy game. It's not hard or anything. You do have to be a little bit careful because there are limited continues in that game, but it's not a hard game or anything. It's just a really weird one, especially the second stage, I believe, where you have to get all the toys to their appropriate sections. Took me a while to figure out what they actually expected me to do there, but all in all, it's not a great game. So I would just steer away from it and then go watch the movies because those are
pretty boring.
Those are great. 2 days ago, I played Snow Brothers Jr. on Game Boy, which is basically the same game as the NES one, but it has 10 more stages. I don't know much about Snow Bros. I don't know if it's a well-loved game or anything. I do know both versions are pretty expensive games to have. It's kind of like a bubble bobble game where you destroy all enemies on a screen and then you move on to the next screen, and after a few levels you get into a boss fight. It's not hard or anything, but you do have limited continues as well. Like, I almost did not make it, and it's a pretty long game, to be fair. It's like almost an hour long, so if you if you lose all your lives when you're almost at the end, it's kind of bothersome to go through it again, especially because I don't know if it's the controls for the Game Boy version, because I've heard from one of the runners of the NES version that even the NES version, I don't know, it feels like you're trying to work with a brick or something. It's super floaty, it doesn't respond very well, making it a lot harder than it should be. And now finally somebody picked Link's Awakening for me to play. It was on my list, it was not crossed out to be like the last game I'll ever play or something for portable pleasure. So it finally got picked. Playing through that game, it's always a fun time. I'm just trying to do like quote unquote 100%, I guess. Like, I skip a few things that I absolutely don't need, but I'm not like trying to break the game too much. Sometimes I do like to put in a little speed running trick here and there, just because it's fun for me. But yeah, I love that game. It's one of my favorite games, so it's kind of fun to play through that. But that's basically all I've been doing for Game Boy games. I've been playing a lot of Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, which is like the new version of the old game with some levels of tag team and Nitro Kart put into it, which I feel is a shame. It's nice that you have a lot of tracks in that game, more than the 22, I believe, from the original game for sure. But they also basically screwed themselves out of making a sequel because all of those stages are now literally in this game. Yeah, it plays very well. There have been some issues that things are not working correctly, but they do try to patch things up here and there. And there's like this whole online Grand Prix thing where you can like unlock new characters. They give you new stages, like it came with a new stage, Twilight Tour, I believe it's called. There's not much to it really. It's just all to unlock what do you call it, aesthetics to get other cards and things like that. And there's a leaderboard if you're really interested in that. But yeah, I don't super care. I'm just trying to unlock the things that are tied to the Grand Prix that you couldn't get otherwise. But yeah, that's about it. I'll try to complete that game. I'm almost done. Just the time trials that are gonna be the hardest part for sure. Speaking of horror games on Steam, I finally bought the... I always forget the guy's name, but I bought the trilogy with the cat lady, Downfall, and
nice.
and Lorelei. So I'm now going through the cat lady. I was hoping to finish it this week, but then suddenly my TV died, which I was using as a second monitor, so I had to get another monitor and order a new TV and things like that. So it's been a rough week for me, especially because yesterday when I came home, like I got my new monitor so I can finally play console games again. But yeah, I came home and then my laptop wouldn't start anymore. Eventually I got it running again, but there's definitely something wrong with that as well. I have no idea what's going on anymore, but it's driving me absolutely crazy for sure. Then there's two more things I played. I started the Mega Man Legacy Collection, played through Mega Man 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Still have to do 6. And also did some of the challenges that are in that game. Some of them are pretty rough if you are not... Like, they're really made for people who know how to speedrun this game, basically, so you really have to know what you're doing, so it will take me a while to actually get through everything in that game, but it's fun. The only problem is there's a lot of input delay on the collection, which is something you don't want for a Mega Man game, but... you can work your way around it if you get used to it. And the last thing I played is Super Mario Maker 2. Went through the story mode, played a few levels of people that I know that made actually great levels. Haven't been able to find the time to actually make a level myself. Also haven't really come up with any ideas for it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing the past month, I guess.
Does the Mega Man Legacy Collection, is that Mega Man like 1 through 10, or is it just 1 through 6?
1 through 6. There's Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, which is 7, 8, 9, and 10. With its own pair of challenges again, of course.
Sure. Huh. You know, I'm excited to watch you play Cat Lady, Downfall, and Lorelei, though.
Yeah, I think I'm in the... penultimate chapter for the cat lady. I know at least PLD has been having a lot of fun watching that game because it's so crazy. Yeah, I love it. It's really great. I'm gonna see what it takes to actually get the different endings because there's 3 or 4 of them. But I think it requires you to like actually replay the entire game almost. So yeah, we'll see how we'll do that. But it's just fun because like you try to play the character, but you also kind of want to do your own choices in the game. Yeah, it's great. It has an amazing art style, an amazing soundtrack. That's why I definitely recommend getting the bundle so you can get the soundtrack as well for quote unquote free with it, I guess. Um, the only problem with it is that the resolution of that game is 800 by 600. There's like no way around it. So it's on a tiny, yeah, very tiny screen at least. But it's a pretty, well, old. I wouldn't say old, but it's from 2013 maybe already. So yeah, so it's been a while. But yeah, it's really cool. But because there's also no full screen option really, at least not one that is capturable for streaming. Yeah, it's weird that it takes you out of the game because you can see your desktop behind it and such. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I crashed on Cat Lady. I got to like the final chapter of Cat Lady, and my game crashed.
Yeah,
and I'm not one to save games either, and I lost all of my progress.
Yeah, I
So
had
actually
a kind of similar issue actually. I did save my game, but apparently there's some problem with the game. So everybody, if you ever want to play it, make sure you before you actually save, go into the where the save file is or should be in Steam, and make sure that the folder is not set to read only because it defaults to that. So I saved the game, I quit, I started the other day, and I had no save file at all. So I had to replay the first 2 chapters basically as well.
Yep. But Downfall is actually the one on Steam is basically a remake of the old Downfall, because Downfall was the first game in the series.
Nah, Cat Lady was the first one, I believe.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think there's just another game called Downfall on Steam.
Because the Cat Lady is in Downfall as well.
Yeah, it's basically a trilogy, but they're not like completely tied together. There's just some references between each of, like you can basically play them in any order you want because they don't like, it's not episodic or anything. It's really all its own story every time. But there's like hints towards what happened in the other games, or hints towards what's gonna happen in the other games. I would recommend playing them from the order they actually came out in, because then the references are a little bit better, I guess. So
yeah, I haven't played Lorelei yet, so I'm excited. Apparently, like all these games have like multiple endings. Like Downfall has like 5 different endings. Cat Lady has like 4 or 5 different endings. I'm assuming Lorelei will be the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all dependent on the actions you take as the character. So can go all the way. Like for instance, in Cat Lady, you can choose to take revenge or not take revenge. So everything splits up. Like the big story is basically always the same, but the results are completely different on what you do.
Yep. Yeah, it's a super cool game. So soundtrack, like Mo was saying, is just absolutely phenomenal. And the art, I get drawn to that art style so easily. No matter what type of game it is, that art style always pulls me in. So, but yeah, the weird fact is that you have to play pretty much in like a windowed mode, which if you can't tunnel vision yourself into a game, it does make it a little distracting because you can, like Mo was saying, see your desktop. But for the most part, though, they're fantastic games, and I highly recommend them if you're into atmospheric, psychological horror games. Like, they're very good.
Amazing writer and artist, because he draws it's all hand drawn. It's really cool to see. It's weird the first time you look at it, but it's just it really gets to you to see how it goes. So
well, sweet. So what we're actually going to be talking about, though, instead of Lorelei and Cat Lady and Harvester Games, is Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
So, when we come back, we will dive into Last Action Hero for the Game Boy. Stay tuned. Alright, welcome back, everybody. Last Action Hero, October of 93 for the Game Boy. When did this movie come out? 92?
Yeah, that is a good
remember.
question, actually, because I have... I don't remember. I'll look it up real quick on...
93.
Oh, so same year, yeah.
So June of 93 is when the movie came out. And the game came out of October of 90. Wow, that's a quick turnaround for a game.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Alright. Developed by Bit Studio, who is no longer in operation anymore. The parent company, Playwise, you may have heard of them, used to do online poker stuff. England-based company. They pulled themselves out of the stock exchange in London, I think it was, and due to some poor trading assets and everything else, they literally just sold off everything. So, Bit Studios, Playwise, all that is I don't believe a thing anymore. But Bit Studio did do a lot of Game Boy titles, though.
Yeah, and some of them I actually really like.
Some of them are quite good, yeah. Like Chase HQ, Terminator Judgment Day, R-Type. You like R-Type.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2. No one likes Spider-Man 2.
I do, though.
Do you?
Yeah. I only
I like one.
do not
I
like
one
the
more than
amusement
two.
park section, but the rest of the game I really like.
That's fair. I liked one more than two, but
Yeah.
obviously Last Action Hero. R-Type 2.
Yeah.
Alien 3. The best Game Boy game. Spider-Man 3. And Ninja Spirit, oddly enough. So, they definitely had a variety of games. They weren't just set on one genre. They definitely had a variety.
Yeah, they worked a lot together with Irem to do the ports of their games to different consoles. I think Bits also made them for NES and things like that, actually.
Yeah, they did the SNES and NES ones as well, too. They definitely worked close with Irem and LJN.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those titles were LJN titles as well.
Yep.
And the game was published by Sony ImageSoft, which... Oof. Typically, for Game Boy, in a way, for me, if I see Sony ImageSoft, I kind of stay clear. But ImageSoft would eventually merge with Sony Interactive Studios of America, which later turns into 989 Studios, which, if you are a PlayStation fan base, you know who 989 Studios is because they did Cool Borders, Twisted Metal, Siphon Filter, and various sports games like Game Day, NHL Breakaway, or whatever it's called, this things of that nature. But ImageSoft did publish a few Game Boy titles, Altered Space, Cliffhanger, which, is a game.
Definitely.
Gearworks, it's definitely a game. Gearworks, Hook. They did the NES version of Hook as well, or published the NES version of Hook as well. Hudson Hawk, Last Action Hero, obviously. Soccer Mania, and Bram Stoker Dracula. So, I mean, they obviously published more games than just what I just said, but these are just the Game Boy titles. They did a lot with SNES and NES as well, too, before the merger before PlayStation became a thing, so...
Yeah, some weird games on there. Like, none of them are great quality games. But most of them are playable, at least. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah, at least they got that going for them. So yeah, the
Yeah.
composer of this game, I actually couldn't figure it out exactly. I did find credits for the Amiga version of Last Action Hero, which was done by Mike Clark. The NES version was done by Marshall Parker, and the Super Nintendo and Genesis version were done by Shahid Ahmad. And I think if I don't remember if there are credits in this game, but I think I saw Shahid Ahmad's name come up, at least during my playthrough of the game. So I'm gonna say the composer of this game would be Shahid Ahmad.
That'd probably be a fair bet. I would say if he did the Game Gear version, he probably did the Game Boy version as well.
It's that time of the episode again where we talk about the plot. For the Game Boy version or any of the game versions, like, it's of course based on the movie, but it's not exactly the same. But I think talking about the movie itself probably will explain most of it. If you haven't seen Last Action Hero yet, it came out at a time right after the big action hero movies were getting closer and closer to the end of their line. People were not really watching them anymore, and they did not put that much effort into them anymore. But like with most of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, actually, they do try to put a lot of humor in his action games. Like, just think of Kindergarten Cop, which is basically a comedy. Commando has a lot of funny moments in it. We talked about True Lies, that came out later than this, at least, I think, right? Yeah, I think
I believe so, like 95 or something.
it was later. But yeah, during this period, a lot of people were starting to parody action movies, because they were they were getting over the top really hard, and people did not like them anymore. And that is actually what Last Action Hero is. It's basically the biggest spoof on all action heroes from the late 80s and the start of the 90s. This movie got received well, I think, but not as well as it should have been, because people did not really get it. Mostly because, yeah, it parodies itself completely. The thing about this movie is it's actually about a little kid who loves going to the movies, and his favorite action hero is Jack Slater, portrayed by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And yeah, he just likes going to those movies. He gets an early premiere of the Jack Slater 4 movie, which is gonna come out, because in the theater, his best friend, one of his friends, an old man, actually does the, how do you call it?
The reel?
The reel, yeah, he works on that. So he already has a copy. He has to check it before they actually show it in the theater. So the kid actually gets in earlier. And when he gets there, the old guy gives him a golden ticket, which he received from Houdini. And it's a magical ticket. And what happens is that when he's watching Jack Slater 4, suddenly he gets sucked into the the theater screen, and he ends up being in the movie. Of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger does not know he's an actor, so there's all kind of goofs around that. For one, he can't even pronounce his own name, so he calls himself Arnold Braunschweiger or something like that. But yeah, the kid is trying to explain that he's actually an action hero and not a real person. And the bad guy in the Jack Slater movie gets the ticket from the kid, and he actually goes into the real world. So Jack Slater has to go into the real world to try and stop him. Actually, that's basically the entire plot of the movie.
Yeah. And
Braunschweiger.
Yeah. Is it a brand of sausage?
I have no idea.
I believe it's a brand of German sausage.
That might be,
as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's fun. There's so many tidbits in the movie that are so over the top. Like, for instance, they the whole thing how Jack Slater 4 starts is that his second cousin gets killed and he's gonna take revenge for that. Like it's super goofy. It just plays on all those tropes that come in every action movie and just blows them up, and it's like amazingly funny. Like he just kills a guy by throwing a stick of dynamite into a trash can, and you see the guy flying across the screen. You have to look closely, but like you see his legs flying across the screen and things like that. So it does not take itself seriously, but the action scenes in this movie are actually really, really, really well done. So, great work on that for sure.
Yeah, the movie had a ton of cameos in it, a lot of references, like Mo was saying. Like, one of my favorite references is Lethal Weapon. Like, that's one of my favorite movies growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And when Jack's house blows up, spoiler alert if you haven't watched the movie yet in the last 20 years, when Jack's house blows up, there is a detective who basically says, like, I'm retiring in 2 days, which is a throwback to Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover's character in Lethal Weapon, who is retiring from the police force. And there's a hint of the Lethal Weapon theme after that too in the background when he says that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's also a great scene. Like literally every cop in that place around Jack Slater's house. Well, it's not. I don't think it's his house. It's his second cousin's house.
It's his second cousin's house
that gets blown up. But like literally all the cops die, and Jack Slater is just fine. There's like nothing wrong with him. It's just so well done. Like you see cops in a tree completely smoking because of the explosion and things like that. It's great. It's just very well done.
And then the villain Benedict. The one with the glass eye, I think it is.
Yeah, he has a glass.
He was based off of Hans Gruber in Die Hard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of references to action to action movies, but this was the first movie that I believe Schwarzenegger helped produce as well. Like his name is credited as a producer,
right,
for this. So he approved script and scenes and everything else. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's great. And yeah, it's also fun, like, when he goes to the real world, he, of course, meets the actual Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it gets played off so great. Like, he just calls himself an asshole or something. It's very well done.
And then when the slasher villain goes to the premiere, the reporter's like, "Oh, what you doing here today?" "Oh, just looking to kill some people." And it goes up to the roof. It's like, what?
Yeah. So yeah, the movie starts with the end of Jack Slater 3, actually, where his son gets thrown off a roof while he's trying to catch Jack the Ripper, basically. Yeah. So the actor that portrays him is also at the premiere of Slater 4, but meanwhile, Benedict has taken the actual Jack the Ripper out of the third movie, so he's back as well. And yeah, he's just walking around completely in his garb as Jack the Ripper because he is Jack the Ripper, and like his agent doesn't understand why. He's completely mad at him because they're just gonna cast you completely as a villain every time. You should stop doing that. It's so good.
It's a great movie. I personally enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I think it deserves a lot more respect that it gets. Because again, people just didn't understand it. At least not back then. I think it has been a little bit more appreciated right now. It's kind of the same like with Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers, when it came out, was not well received at all. And they just didn't get that it was, again, just a spoof of like sci-fi action movies. Like it was more as a criticism towards that, and criticism towards how the army works and things like that. And people just didn't get it. But Starship Troopers is also one of the, at least in certain circles, regarded as like an amazing movie nowadays. Yeah. So
that's a good movie too.
Mm-hmm.
I just think when they released Last Action Hero Starship Troopers, I think that the timing was just slightly off. Like we were just in that transition out of the action movies like that. So I think like if they were to release the movies just a tad bit later, I think they may have done a little bit better. But the fact that they were still in that like gray transition area by mimicking and mocking these action hero movies, but they're still making action hero movies. Like I feel like there was an overlap that people just didn't quite understand. But yeah, no, they're both fantastic movies. Yeah. Recommend them both.
Absolutely. So yeah, the plot as far as this game goes, you don't play as the kid named Danny, actually. You just play as Jack Slater. It's kind of the same as the movie, I would say. Like, Benedict has gotten into the real world, so you're trying to stop him and Jack the Ripper. So that's basically the entire plot of this game. Like, there's not much more that you need to know, actually.
Yeah, no, gameplay-wise, you would think it's just going to be a platform and beat 'em up, which for the most part it kind of is. Stage 1 presents itself as a platform and beat 'em up, where in stage 1 you progress through the stage going left and right, jumping over pitfalls and jumping onto platforms while beating up enemies along the way and collecting ticket stubs. And after you've collected X amount of ticket stubs, you get a power-up item. And in the first stage, you start off with a fire extinguisher that lets you put out the fires in like the first half of the stage, because otherwise you can't progress. And then as you go through the second half of the stage, your power-up becomes a bomb to take down the walls to get to the rooftop. And you can't really miss any tickets at all. Like, you have to fight everyone on the screen because they'll drop a ticket stub. And you have ticket stubs that are just floating and falling down from the air. And sometimes you have to wait for them, which is kind of tedious. But you have to collect all the ticket stubs to progress through the stage. Stage 2 is you fight Jack the Ripper. If you've ever watched the movie, very early on, you get to see Jack Slater 3, you get to see the end of it basically when Slater faces off against Jack the Ripper. Pretty much the same sequence, punch him until he falls off the roof, and you're good to go there. That's the end of that stage. Stage 3, it was very reminiscent of Ghostbusters 2 on NES because it's a driving sequence. It's a top-down view, and you're in a car, and again, you're collecting ticket stubs. And once you've collected, I forgot how many ticket stubs it was. It was a decent amount of ticket stubs. You do a barrel roll over a river onto the other side. But along the way, like, you crash into cars that can drop ticket stubs. But you also have to be wary of your health. So, like, your health bar is also attributed to this as well, too. So if you hit cars, I don't remember if they take away your hit points and all, but if you hit like the side of the road, if you hit potholes, you lose health, and the car isn't exactly easy to drive, and you have to be very, very, very quick in response to collect tickets. And the ticket hitbox isn't exactly great in the car.
Nope.
I have definitely driven through tickets and not collected them. Yeah. So as you get towards the second half of the driving stage, you come across a helicopter that is shooting missiles or dropping bombs at you, however you want to look at it. So you need to dodge the explosions and potholes while trying to finish collecting the rest of the tickets that you need to finish the stage. If you don't collect all the tickets, the car doesn't make the jump and you crash to the river and you get to do the whole stage over again. Stage 4 is absolutely pointless and should have never been in the game.
Yep.
You collect 5 ticket stubs to get a bomb power-up that you use on the edge of a platform to knock down a platform to jump to the end of the stage. It's literally a 5-second stage.
Yep.
Literally pointless. Stage 5, in my opinion, was the most tedious stage of them all because that was the elevator stage. This stage will definitely test your patience with some pretty precise jumping and a little bit of blind jumping if you're not patient at all. So throughout this stage, you need to collect every single ticket again. Common theme in this game. And you have to jump from elevator to elevator across a skyscraper to get to the rooftop. Sometimes you have to ride the elevator all the way up, jump, grab the ticket, and then ride the elevator again and creep to the edge to see the edge of another elevator to see where it's at. However, if you don't have any patience, or if you think you've been waiting a long time, you may just end up blind jumping to the right or left, completely miss an elevator and have to redo it all over again anyway. And mind you, each stage is timed. You have a time limit to complete each stage, and the time limit for some of these stages are pretty tight.
Yeah, especially the first stage. That one is yeah.
Yeah.
Once you overcome that first
stage,
it gets easier, in my opinion. But yeah, the timing on the first stage is like a little bit too tight to get through. But yeah.
Yeah. And as you progress through stage 5, get all the tickets and get to the rooftop, you fight a very easy helicopter boss with a very predictable bullet pattern. The only hard part about the helicopter is that it does move side to side, semi-unpredictable, but the patterns are always the same. It will always shoot 2 bullets in the middle and then 2 bullets to the side. So there's actually some pretty safe places to do that. You lay down like these missile traps, shoot some Patriot missiles at it, and after a few hits, it goes down.
Yeah, it's basically the high-end fight from Metal Gear, but worse.
Yeah.
Worse, of course.
Yeah, not as good. Stage 6 is another driving sequence. Cool. There's no sweet barrel roll at the end of it. You just kind of pull up to I believe it's the premiere.
Yeah, the theater,
in the movie. So, stage 7 will very much remind you of stage 1, where you have to collect a large amount of tickets to get a key to get up to the rooftop. And then stage 8 is your final fight against Jack the Ripper to save Danny this time around.
Yeah, you don't see Danny, but I guess
you don't see him. Yeah, you don't see Danny, but in stage 9, Jack the Ripper falls down and then jumps into the movie screen and then turns into Vigo from Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, I don't know where that suddenly came from, but sure, like, why not? I guess they had to do something. But yeah, that is such a weird turn of events. Like, this is... Okay, I guess spoilers for the end of the movie. What happens is that the ticket gets a little bit corrupted and death comes out of the movie screen from which movie? Like a very old movie, like I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So death actually comes to life in the real world and starts killing people. So I guess they're kind of trying to do that, but it just looks like Vigo from Ghostbusters 2, really.
Yeah. But yeah, the movie screen turns into Vigo, and the movie screen shoots projectiles at you. Once you've understood the pattern and when to attack, it's honestly a very, very simple fight. And then it's a long fight too. It's oddly a very long fight even. But once you finally beat it, you beat Last Action Hero. So.
Yeah, it's weird, like, you don't really fight Benedict, even though he is the villain.
Yeah.
It's kind of... Unless he is the second Jack the Ripper, but that wouldn't make sense either, so whatever.
Unless he was in the helicopter, I have no idea. Yeah, you don't see or fight Benedict at all.
To be fair, Benedict is really hard to translate into a video game because he's really just a dude. Like... There's nothing more to him. In the movie, he has his glass eye and he's a sharpshooter, basically. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know how you would portray that very well in like a video game. I haven't played the other games, by the way, like on the other systems. I don't know how those go. Hey, yeah, okay. How those go. But yeah, in this one at least, it wouldn't have been that great to fight Benedict.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's the gameplay in a nutshell. Like it's very simple gameplay. The game just tests your patience every once in a while. And then, like Mo said, the timing of the first level is very tight. So it's a bit of trial and error, understanding how the game works to get through that stage.
Yeah, that
But
one.
once you're at stage 1, it's not bad.
Yeah, that, like, when I started playing this game, that was like the stage that I was like, whoa, if the entire game is like this is gonna be pretty tough. But once you're done with stage 1, it's super easy. Like, I did game over because you have limited continues in this game. I think I game over during the second driving sequence. But yeah,
Watch you do the driving sequences were so
yeah.
good.
But yeah, after that, I was done with it. It took me basically 2 tries to get through the game, so it's definitely not a hard game at all.
No, just the first stage.
Yeah. Yeah, the big problem with that first stage is, like, you do have a health bar, and when you fight any of the goons that you come across, sometimes your buttons do not work, or it just moves too slow or something like that, and you get hit, and there's only 1 health refill in that stage. It's a very hard stage.
End.
Yeah, there's one at the very end that you don't even need anymore, because you just get full health when you're fighting Jack the Ripper.
So good. It's so good. They have a health power up after you have gone and fought all the goons. But then as soon as you transition into the next stage, you get 1 extra heart, because if you look at your hit points, you have empty hearts. But as you progress through the game, you get 1 heart for every level that you play through. So when you go and fight Jack the Ripper the first time in stage 2, it just refills your entire health bar. So there's no point in collecting that health at the end at all.
Yeah, weird choice there. But yeah, whatever. Like, it's fine.
Oh god, what a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cover art for the game. It is literally just the movie poster.
Yeah. And the movie poster kind of is weird, because I'm not sure why there's a dinosaur on it.
Well, they went to the dino park. Remember the tar?
Oh,
remember the tar
right.
ponds?
There's that's true. Yeah, okay, I guess. But yeah, the movie poster is reminiscent of, like, even like 60s action movies, I would say, as well, cause and like early 80s. Like, if I see this poster, it kind of reminds me of an Indiana Jones poster, actually.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. But yeah, you see the movie screen or the theater screen with Jack Slater jumping out with Danny in his arm, and then you see, like, some characters from the movie in the background. I guess at the bottom it's Benedict, but he kind of looks like, he kind of looks like, not like Benedict. He looks like one of those guys with it's probably how it's colored in, but it looks like one of those evil guys with a goatee. But I can't come up with the name of the actor I'm trying to think of right now. But yeah, you see Jack the Ripper, you see, I don't know, again, I'm not sure if I'm seeing this correctly, but it looks like the police inspector from The Naked Gun, actually, at the right.
100%.
Yeah, so I don't know what he is doing in there, because I don't think he's in the movie, but sure. You see, I don't know what her name is, but this was her first movie. She later played Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat 1, the blonde girl. I
can't remember her name either.
But yeah, it's a great poster, so it worked fine as the game cover as well, I guess.
Yeah. And a little trivia is, I know we're a Game Boy podcast, but the Game Gear is a 1-to-1 port of the Game Boy version, but it's in color.
Amazing.
So that means it'll destroy your batteries 3 times as fast. General reception of the game, Mo touched base in the movie. It was received okay. It made $137 million in the box office.
That is definitely okay.
Yeah. I think the budget was like $80 million.
Yeah.
I think, or something like that. So they definitely made profit.
But not a lot.
it wasn't a complete flop. But the games, however, are not as praised. The The Super Nintendo version is often talked about to be one of the worst games. If you've never played the Super Nintendo version, I warn you to avoid it. It is quite bad. But yeah, that's basically about all there is for Last Extra Reception in a way, at least for the Game Boy version. There's not much out there about the Game Boy version.
Yeah.
A lot out there for the Genesis and Super Nintendo, though.
Yeah, like usual, of course. Game Boy game
like
gets often overlooked. I don't even think a lot of people played this game, to be perfectly honest.
I don't think many people knew this game existed.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, when we come back, we'll give you some thoughts and history of the game and a little bit of the speedrunning section of the game. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. Mo, what is your history and thoughts of this video game?
Yeah, so I have no history with this game, at least. I have history with the movie, which I saw as a kid and loved it back then and still love it today. Most of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies from that era were just really fun to watch as a kid. So, but yeah, I picked this because I wanted to do like a sequel episode to our True Lies episode, which is the best one we've did, but apparently nobody wants to listen to it for some reason. Hopefully because you still want to see True Lies and don't get spoiled and then actually listen to it. But yeah, that was just a really fun episode for us to do because we didn't really talk about the game much, but more about the movie. So I kind of wanted to do that again. And after our little break, this is a nice thing to start things back up again, actually. So yeah, I played it for the podcast. Yeah, I had fun with it. Like, I didn't hate it or anything. Of course, it was not one of the high flyers of the Game Boy library. But I think it's cool that they put a lot of variation in it with, at least, like breaking the cycle a little bit by putting in those driving sequences. The boss fights are also, like, not what you would expect immediately. Like, usually you have to just fight until the health bar of the boss go down. In this, well, yeah, you don't see a health bar, of course, for the last boss, but it's a kind of different fight than you would expect in like a platformer beat-em-up game. Pushing somebody off the roof is also not really always the solution in video games, but yeah, if you know the movie, then it absolutely makes sense. Yeah, it took me, I think, about an hour to get through this, so it wasn't something that took me a lot of time to actually get through, which is always nice. I rather play something like this, which isn't the best quality of game, but that you can at least get through and feel like you've not wasted your time playing it for hours and hours and hours, because it's just unfair to actually beat. Yeah, I would I recommend this? I don't really know. Like, if you have an hour to spare, maybe check it out. You should get through it pretty easily for sure. And yeah, you won't have a bad time, at least, unless you really have some issues with the timing on how to get through the first stage, which was, in my opinion, the biggest problem with this game. It's a little bit too tight, and the way you have to fight is not the best thing. Like, we haven't talked about this, but you basically have two forms of attack. You have a punch and you have like a roundhouse kick. But the wind up for the roundhouse kick is like very inconsistent to time your hits correctly, so you just stick to the normal punches. And it's kind of weird that they went with just punching, actually, in this game, because Jack Slater has like this huge revolver he uses all the time, shooting everybody, so I'm kind of surprised they yeah, didn't make you just shoot everybody, which is it's kind of weird. But yeah, I've had fun. I would say check it out at least. Do not think this is one of those very bad movie based games. It's actually worth at least to try it out once.
Yeah, I would say that I also don't have a history with the Game Boy version. Like Mo, I grew up watching the movie as well too as a kid. But I did have history with the Super Nintendo version because I remember renting the Super Nintendo game as a kid and absolutely just hating it. So I do have history with that. But as far as this game, I knew this game existed because of Game Boy Adventure. I actually didn't know this game existed as a kid at all for Game Boy. So I saw it on the list for Game Boy Adventure, and I saw that it was published by ImageSoft. So I kind of kept it off of my radar purposely because I played Cliffhanger and I kind of understood what I would probably be getting into. But like Mo said, he wanted to do a sequel to True Lies, basically. So he chose Last Action Hero for the game. So I ended up playing this game twice, mostly because of how long it took us to record this episode because we've been so busy. I played it immediately after we announced it as the next episode because I thought we were going to try and do recordings before I left for Summer Games Done Quick, which added a lot of stress to me because I was trying to get a lot of stuff done in that month before I left for vacation. But we didn't do the recording, so I ended up playing it again at SGDQ in the practice room because I knew we'd probably record after I got back. And I completely forgot the game in its entirety because I rushed through it the first time. But it's honestly not a terrible game. It's a slightly above average Game Boy game with a pretty good soundtrack, honestly. Mm-hmm. I would say, like Mo was saying, like play it. Like if you just play it for an hour or a couple hours or whatever, your first hurdle is going to be the first stage. Once you get past the first stage, that's pretty much your biggest hurdle. Even if you don't beat the game, like just play it. Like it's a fairly enjoyable time killer. If you have 15, 20 minutes, whatever you're waiting for, if you're going to school still and you're listening to the podcast, you're waiting for a bus. I don't know what you kids do nowadays, but pop it into the Game Boy, and that's what we used to do. Yeah. Pop it into the Game Boy, and play it for 20 minutes and wait for your bus to come. Or if you ride a subway or whatever it is that you all do, you won't be disappointed. I mean, if anything, the worst part of the game, in my opinion, is the driving sequences. That frustrated me because it reminded me of Ghostbusters 2 and how much I hated the driving sequences in Ghostbusters 2 and NES. The hitboxes on enemies, I had a really hard time with hitboxes on enemies because I felt like if I mashed my punch button, it didn't do all the damage that I was dealing out. Like I had to rhythmically understand when to press my punch button, and I had to wait for tickets to fall to collect them. So it doesn't seem like a big deal just waiting for them, but when you're in stage 1 and you're watching that timer tick down to double digits, and you're waiting for a ticket to fall from the sky, it's a little stressful. So, that was probably my least favorite part of the game, was waiting for the tickets to fly. But yeah, like I said, the game is not terrible. Like I said, slightly above average with a really good soundtrack, worth playing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Sadly, this is the last Arnold game on Game Boy where you actually play as Arnold. Let me say it like that, because
there you go.
There's still Terminator 2 Judgment Day and the arcade shooter. But in the platformer you play as Sarah Connor, and in the other one you play as, I think, just a random resistance soldier. Maybe John Connor, I don't know. Maybe you play as him, but yeah, you don't actually play as Arnold anymore. So True Lies and this one is the only Arnie action you're gonna get on Game Boy. So, and both of them are decent games, at least.
Yeah, True Lies was great.
Mm-hmm.
Even the podcast episode was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, True Lies was fantastic. I was very surprised because Mo chose True Lies for my Game Boy adventure. I think after I beat Alien 3, even. And I was very surprised at how fun that game was. And then I was actually surprised at how fun Last Action Hero was, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I do remember that I tried Last Action Hero one time in the past. And because that first stage is such a weird one, like it really put me off of the game. Never wanted to try it again, but now that I've sat down and played it, which only took an hour, like I said, because it's like a 20-minute game or something. It's really not that long. It was really worth playing through it at least.
And then we'll do Sylvester Stallone games next.
Yeah. Is there anything besides Cliffhanger, really?
Just Cliffhanger,
Just
I think.
Cliffhanger, yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. Dread.
Oh, yeah, Judge Dredd is on there. Yeah, I forgot about Judge Dredd. Yeah. Speedrunning segment. There is actually no Game Boy leaderboard for Last Action Hero. There is an NES one.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a task for the Game Boy game. There's no speedruns, but there is a task for it. The task was done by Tabarial?
Yeah, I would say the barrel.
The barrel.
Yeah.
But the task is 11 minutes and 31 seconds.
Yeah, that's
so.
Yeah, so it's open for submissions. The leader, well, you have to make it
speed run, sub 15 minutes if you put some time into it. But yeah, I would say go speed run it. Go submit a leaderboard. Go make it popular.
Yeah.
Fun game. But yeah, when we come back, we will talk about community events upcoming. We have a decent amount of them. Any listener questions, and what you're going to hear next time on This Is Game Boy. Welcome back, everybody. Community events coming up related to the Game Boy. We have a decent amount in the very close future. We have Midwest Speed Fest, which is, the submissions are closed for it. It will be August 23rd to August 25th. Midwest Speed Fest is a pretty interesting marathon. I went to it last year, or partook in it last year. They do both in-person and online runs. So they segment out their marathon where between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. are in-person marathon runs. So you actually go to the event, run them at the actual event space. And then overnight runs are all online runs. So you don't actually have to be from the Midwest at all to partake in this. You can be from anywhere in the world. You can be online. You just have to do it through the overnight hours. Very cool marathon, ran by some super cool people. Super Stigma Salem 2019.
Never heard.
I don't know a ton about this. Yeah, I don't know a ton about this marathon. I know the organizers for this group, or for this marathon rather. It is a in-person marathon in Wisconsin. Submissions are open until August 3rd. I don't know when this episode comes out. It'll probably be closed by the time this episode comes out. The marathon is October 4th to October 6th. Again, super cool organizers. I hang out with them at GDQs and whatnot. Talk to them regularly on Discord. GDQX. the second annual GDQX, I guess, second ever.
Yeah.
Submissions are closed for this, and it will be September 27th through September 29th. Game list comes out on July 27th. So we'll get to see if any Game Boy games were submitted, A, and if any Game Boy games are accepted, B. Yeah. So, then we have Cusa Grande / Brosencha's Big Bad Game-a-thon. I believe submissions are closed for this now, and that will run from September 20th to September 22nd. I want to say I submitted to this, but I don't know what I submitted to this.
Okay.
But probably a Game Boy game or two. Actually, no, I submitted Titus the Fox and something else. So, Titus the Fox Game Boy. Yep. Speedy Fist Winter Edition. We had Speedy Fist earlier this year in April, which was my first time running in it. And I did Shaq Fu, part of the Shaq Fu block. I did Shaq Fu Game Boy. I closed out the Shaq Fu block with Shaq Fu Game Boy. Speedy Fist Winter Edition submissions are open July 29th, and they close on September 15th. And the marathon is October 18th to October 20th. Again, organizers are super cool. It's mainly the same people that organize Midwest Speed Fest. And Speedy Fist is a speedrunning marathon of nothing but fighting games. So I know fighting games don't get a lot of love, but they get a lot of love in this marathon, let me tell you what. Super fun marathons, though. Very, very chill organizers. Always a good time. We have there's other events way out in the future. We'll talk about them in later episodes.
Yeah.
As for listener questions, there weren't any questions that I saw. We have some remarks of, I didn't know this game existed on the Game Boy, which I was one of those few people as well as a child. And I also found out that Arnold Schwarzenegger was 71 years old. So
yeah. I asked a question to just like everybody in the Discord. What is your favorite Arnold movie? I can't pull up the results anymore of that, but yeah, it was pretty much always the same. Basically, most people just go for like Terminator 2, of course, or Predator. I think the other. Answer was, for me personally, I think it's Commando, actually. I think that's my favorite Arnold movie.
Mine is... What's that one where he's like a detective? Not True Lies, but...
Where he's a detective?
I just put Arnold Detective. It's not True Lies, but not Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, what the heck is it called?
I'm trying to think now, but I have no idea.
I am...
Like, it's definitely not Predator.
I literally just watched it the other day, too. Okay. What is it?
I know where he's a Russian guy, but that was one of his not-so-good movies. What is it called? Yeah, Red Heat? Something like that.
Yeah, that was Red Heat.
That one is... I don't like that one very much.
Oh, Eraser.
Oh, right, Eraser. Yeah, that's one a lot of people forget about. That's a really good one as well. Doesn't he find like a crocodile in it or something?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Oh, and another one a lot of people don't say that much. Yeah, of course, Total Recall, very popular.
It's a very good movie.
The Running Man, which is amazing.
The Running Man's so good. Mm-hmm. So good. End of Days, terrible movie.
That's a terrible movie. His newer
Batman
ones aren't
Robin.
that great, but I did like, maybe we talked about this in the True Lies episode, but I did like the one with, he did together with Sylvester Stallone, where they have to like escape from a prison. I like that one a lot. The one where he has to protect like this hillbilly town, well, not hillbilly town, like a Texas town somewhere in the middle of the desert together with Johnny Knoxville. Not that good. I don't remember what it's called, but that's also one of his newer ones.
Yeah, Collateral Damage. That wasn't bad. That was a semi-new one.
Yeah.
Collateral Damage wasn't terrible.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
the new Terminator is gonna come out, but looking at the trailer, it's gonna be pretty. So
we'll see.
yeah,
We'll see.
like Genesis wasn't bad in my opinion, but the story was just ridiculous. But the movie itself was at least good.
Yeah. And then he was in Batman and Robin. Let's not forget Mr. Freeze. It's time to freeze.
That was
Twins was good.
If
With,
you like
Danny
those
DeVito.
movies, yeah, Twins was good.
Was that Danny DeVito?
And what was the other one with DeVito where he
Junior,
yeah.
Yeah.
Those are weird but fun at least.
Junior was. I remember watching Junior as a kid, and I did not understand what was happening. And then as an adult, I understand more what's happening.
Yeah. It's a weird choice. And of course, one of the best Christmas movies of all time, Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way. Yep. And I'll be curious to see what this new Terminator brings, for sure. I'm skeptical, but I'm hopeful at the same time.
Yeah.
I like Terminator.
Yeah. The first three movies, the third, 1 and 2 are masterpieces. The third one is a good action flick, but everything that, Genesis was alright.
Which one was 3? That was like, what, Rise of the Machines?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was alright. Genesis was okay. Genesis was the weakest of the 4, in my opinion, but it was okay.
Yeah, and I don't remember what the other one is called. The one in the actual future. Ugh, was bad. Get it out of here. with the CG Arnold. Ugh, no, don't, please.
I don't know if I ever saw that one.
Yeah, just don't. It's just terrible.
Let's see here. Thoughts and suggestions by the audience, aka you all listeners. If you have, again, feedback for us, you want to give us some praise, if you want to give us some critical feedback, obviously leave comments in the SoundCloud, hop into our Discord, which we'll tell you where to find later. And by later, I mean probably within the next minute. Talk to us on Twitter, tweet at us. We have a Monochrome City, or this is a Game Boy Twitter account. Yeah. Or you can tweet at Mo and I separately or together. You can chat us on Twitch. Whatever. We have a lot of avenues you can talk to us at. Absolutely. A lot of avenues. And in terms of where they can find us, they can find me at Belthic Gaming on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Even I've been posting on Instagram lately. And I have a YouTube channel, but it doesn't have the branded URL yet because I don't upload to it because I suck at uploading videos. And then obviously you can find our wonderful producer Legs at SprintingLegs on Twitch. I think on Discord. She might be Legs on Discord now. Legs on YouTube. And then where can they find you, Mo? You
can find me on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Just /Moelle, and that's spelled Moelleuh. It's all the same, so that's easy to find. But there's of course an easier way than trying to remember all of these URLs. Just go to one URL, which is gbrunners.com/TIGB, where you just find links to everything. So you just have to click on things instead of typing them into your browser of choice.
That's true. And on that page is a link to the Patreon. And if you enjoy the podcast so much, you can be a patron. Is that what they're called?
Yep.
A patron?
Absolutely.
A patron to This Is Game Boy. And once we have hit $20 a month, Mo and I will actually start live broadcasting our podcast episode. So yeah, the next time on This Is Game Boy, our spidey senses are tingling.
Amazing. Spectacular, even.
Superior.
It could be superior as well. Yeah, it could also be ultimate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Could be friendly neighborhood even, like...
Whoa.
Yeah.
Might even do some web slinging. Like Mary Jane in the Spider-Man PS4 game?
Oh, amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely.